Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to this beautiful space on a Friday. Thank you for joining us today. We have an incredible array of mental health and well-being experts from USC and our community. Excited to share resources and answer any questions that you might have about these areas. So my name is Rachel Lichtman. I am the Associate Director for Public Communications at Student Health. We are at the Engelman building right over on corner of campus. Some of you may know where we are, but if you haven't been there yet, it's a beautiful space and you can get a ton of amazing resources there at no additional cost as a USC student. So to get started, I'm going to do a quick rundown of our panelists because we do have an incredible group here. And if you want to learn more about them, you can scan our digital program right here for their bios. I encourage you to do so because we're really lucky to have these folks at USC and around USC. Also, for the second half of our event, McKenna will be joining us. McKenna is one of our incredible well-being health outreach ambassadors at Student Health, and so she will be conducting the Q&A portion of the event. So let's start with our guests. Dr. Broderick is USC Student Health's leader for counseling and mental health services, which are available to all full-time USC students at no additional cost. I'm excited for him to talk about all of the incredible resources, and he will also be speaking on behalf of CARE SC. Our amazing Dr. Debbie Schleicher is unfortunately sick today, and so Broderick will also be able to answer any questions you might have about that area. And next we have Dr. Jay Batra, Vice Chair of Clinical Affairs, our partner in the Department of Psychiatry, which leads a private practice on the 5th floor of Engelman. In addition to our mental health partners on campus, we also maintain a robust network of connections, and one such external partner is NAC. So NAC is an intensive outpatient program represented today by Heather Russo. Thank you for coming, Heather. And on the academic side, I'm pleased to introduce two colleagues who actually offer minors in well-being related topics. They know each other well, and I'm excited for you to hear from them as well. This is Dr. Marcos Briano with USC Dornsife's Physical Education MindBody Health Department, and Dr. Michelle Dexter with the new Psychiatry and Behavioral Health Services minor at Keck School of Medicine of USC. And we all know it takes many campus partners to support community well-being, which is why I'm very happy to welcome Dr. Mark Miller, representing the Office of Religious and Spiritual Life, as well as Mindful USC, Chelsea Murillo from the USC Korshak Center of Learning and Creativity. And last but not least, Dr. Kelly Lau from the USC Chan Division of Occupational Science and Occupational Therapy. Please join me in giving everybody a round of applause. So let's get started with a question for everyone. You're talking to a student who has never heard of your resource or your program. They are not an existing participant or a patient, but they're curious to learn more. What's the most important thing you want them to get before they rush off to class? And we'll share our mics. I think we have a couple here, so I can share this way. We'll start with you.
Hey, everyone. So what I would tell a student is that USC has a wealth of resources to support our students' well-being, all aspects of well-being, and our student health fee that students pay into to provide a lot of services. Covers mental health as well as physical health and other health promotion activities across campus. But specifically for our mental health service, we really try to match the student's need where they're at. And so a lot of our students might come in and they don't necessarily need to see a licensed therapist. They might be having normal developmental challenges. They might be struggling with connection and feeling maybe isolated or lonely. They might need some stress management and stress reduction tips and tools. And so we have a set of resources available to those students, whether it's meeting with a provider for what we call a Let's Talk, which is kind of a safe space just to go and check in and learn some skills. We have apps through our Therapy Plus platform. Nod is one of those apps where you can learn some techniques and tools on building community and learning how to connect with others and decreasing isolation. And so there's a lot of different psychoeducation modules and things you can just at 24/7 in the convenience of your own place to learn some skills and get support. We also have clinical services for students who might need a little more support. Maybe you are struggling with anxiety or depression or things that are more impactful on your functioning. And we have one of the largest counseling centers in the country, tons of resources to provide support to those students. And you can see a therapist for what we call a single session, where you have a very specific, or a solution session, you have a very specific need. Maybe you have a fight with your roommate, or maybe you are having some issue with your parent, or maybe an academic issue where your mental health is impacting. You just want something really specific, then that's a straight shot to get support. But we also have traditional therapy where you can come in and meet with a therapist, and they can do a deep dive in terms of your history and what's going on for you and help develop a treatment plan for you. We also have group therapy, and so we have around 20 groups that cover a range of topics, and sometimes our students are a little worried or shy or anxious about joining groups, but once they're in there, they're like, oh wow, this is really powerful. I have a lot of peers who might be going through similar concerns or issues, and there's a real sense of camaraderie and helping each other. And then we also provide a lot of crisis support to our students. So sometimes something happens immediately and you just need to get into the door, and so you can just walk in. We also have 24/7 coverage, and so if 3 o'clock in the morning something happens, you can call and there will be a provider who can support you. And then outside of our service, we also have a lot of wonderful community partners. Dr. Batra will talk a little bit about his service. We operate from a short-term model, but if a student needs intermediate to longer-term care, we have a vast network of providers that we really trust our students with that you can access. So as the elevator doors are opening, I'll just say we have so many resources at each level of need for the student that we can provide support. And all it takes is reaching out to us, going into MySHR, or giving us a call or walking in, and we can open up the world of mental health resources to you.
Thank you so much. And if you do have any questions about what some of those services are that Broderick, Dr. Leeks just shared, we do have a handout in the back called What's the Difference? And it talks a little bit about what the difference is between all of those different areas and what might be the best fit for you. So thank you so much. And Dr. Batra, what are you going to say in your 1 to 2 minutes before your student rushes off to class?
I was set up. I'd have to follow Broderick Leeks. So my son, when he was a freshman at an East Coast university, experienced panic attacks, right? And about 6 months after starting school, initially he thought he was having a heart attack, went to the ER. I flew down to see him. Thankfully, he was not experiencing a heart attack, but they were panic attacks. They are incredibly uncomfortable. He went to the Student Health Center, similar to what Broderick was just describing, what we offer here. They took good care of him, they evaluated him, diagnosed him, and then gave him a whole list of resources in a small town, big university, small town. For ongoing care, he had to go find resources there. He and I called and called and called, like 20 people, none of whom had availability to see him. So what is PBHS? We are that clinic that my son couldn't get access to, right? So if you have an anxiety problem, you're struggling with depression, bipolar disorder, even treatment refractory depression, those kinds of ADHD, any of those things, if you need ongoing care beyond the initial evaluation and counseling, we're on the 5th floor. So Broderick's team will help you navigate to the 5th floor. So you start with the 3rd floor where CMH is, and then you get referred over to us, and we can investigate further, diagnose, treat with therapy, with medication. We even have transcranial magnetic stimulation available, hopefully soon esketamine for those who are really struggling with severe depression. But you will get a very coordinated team of therapists, case managers, and psychiatrists. I see those elevator doors closing.
That was incredible. Very, very well done. And thank you for sharing that story. I think it's really helpful for us to get a sense of that connection and the real world application of how unique it is to have something like that at USC.
Most universities don't have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Heather.
All right, so student has seen Broderick, they've seen Jay. I'm with NAC Behavioral Health. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. NAC Behavioral Health is an off-campus resource. So while we work very closely with USC, we are our own private organization. NAC is what is called an intensive outpatient program. So what that means is that when once a week therapy is just not quite enough, and a student is needing more, not that you're not all very gifted, but if their needs exceed, what can be held on campus, then a student might come to NAC. So we offer sort of that next level of care up from outpatient therapy. We're not a residential program, we're not inpatient, we're nothing like that. We are for students who need a little bit more and want to stay in the area. They want to stay maybe in classes or stay working, stay in their internship, their graduate program, but also need more support. So our students come to us for about 12 hours per week. So you can think of it as like a little mental health part-time job where they're getting lots of group therapy, lots of skills development. We're working on distress tolerance and emotion regulation and interpersonal skills, mindfulness. We're working on life skills, adjusting to the life of a student, life maybe away from a family of origin, maybe folks that are struggling with depression, anxiety, trauma, PTSD, OCD, even suicidality. So we're a service who, is really invested in wrapping around our clients. So we do a lot with coordinating with the university, with OSAS and CSI and some of the other organizations or agencies within the campus to make sure that we're able to really hold the students that come see us. So they're typically with us for a few months, and they're receiving services, again, 4 days a week, about 3 hours each day. They're also participating in weekly outpatient therapy, right? So that's weekly one-to-one therapy. We continue on with that. We do some family therapy, and the program is really designed for folks who need a little bit more, but also for some folks who are needing to stay out of the hospital or out of a residential treatment program, right? They don't want to be displaced, which makes a lot of sense. And so for that, we have specific protocols that we're able to use to address suicidality. And we can keep folks out of the hospital, keep them in their community and with their support systems, and I don't know, get them on the right path, man. Get them to be able to enjoy the fruits of all their hard work and their opportunity to really enjoy being a student.
Thank you so much. Again, I marvel at the kinds of things that we have here at USC and around USC. And shifting gears from this client perspective to perhaps this more learning perspective, which is also so unique at USC, I'm excited to hear from both of you. So please take it away.
All right. So I think one thing very important is collaboration with the resources, and knowing what we have and offer is super important, number one. But we look at it more in the academic sphere. I would say, students, 4 units of your undergrad can be counted towards graduation if you take a PE MindBody Health class. And you're like, what kind of classes can you take? Take a golf. I teach golf, so you can take a golf class, for example. So we actually do a really nice job in looking at the wellness pillars. We know those wellness pillars: emotional, physical, financial, and all the other ones. Keep in mind that we have all those aspects. So if you want to use an intervention that you learn, take a stress management class. We have a mindfulness class that you can take, right? And you can utilize these interventions and put them into your own storyline. I think one thing that I want to get across to students is not one size fits all. You're going to get an intervention, you have to tweak it, right? You have to adapt it, you have to modify it. And hopefully in our courses, we will give you those tools along with working with our resource of like, how can I make this for me? How can I make this work for me? And then how do I navigate? And guess what? You will continually kind of do a process and kind of learning about it and changing it. And that's where we want to give you those skill sets. But also give 4 units that go towards graduation, and you have fun and do archery, golf, and on all the other classes that we offer here. So I'll turn over to my colleague who has more in the minor, which I think is another wonderful aspect.
Thank you, Marcus. Dr. Briano and I have been friends and colleagues for a long time, so it's fun to be up here together presenting our programs. So I have 2 minutes with a student, huh, Rachel?
So fast.
Okay, here we go. So I guess I would really start by asking the student if they've ever experienced stress. That's one of the questions that we ask in one of the courses that we teach. Over thousands of students, I've never had anyone say no. So our program is a minor in psychiatry and the behavioral sciences. It's a great option for students who are really interested in learning about the brain, physiology, behaviors, really interested in thinking about complex challenges and solutions within the field of mental health, and also being able to connect with faculty from Keck School of Medicine who have expertise in teaching, research, and clinical care. And although it is a very, distinguished minor, it's also really fun and interesting. And so one of the things that we get to do is teach students about common, social phenomena that they've experienced, including stress, and really giving them a model to understand this, whether it's through understanding their own identities, through understanding their own internal world and physiology, their neural circuitry within the brain, and then being able to apply that. So it's a wonderful minor for any student. A lot of our students who are interested in health professions take the minor, but actually we have some Annenberg students and some students from cinema. So it's really fun, I think, because it applies to all of us. We all have a body, we all have a brain, and we can all use this information to actually be more successful and resilient no matter what career we choose.
Thank you so much. I would love to get credit for learning about those things. I know, I want to audit your classes. You have a challenge. You have a double dip as well, like Dr. Leeks.
Yeah. So if this feels a little bit like which one is not like the others. So I'm not a clinician. Actually, I am a clinician. I'm a psychologist, but in my role today, I'm actually a chaplain. I'm the Buddhist chaplain here at USC and the director of Buddhist Life. And so what I really like about my department is we are so different. I was thinking earlier about, you're about to all go home, right? And what are the two things you're not supposed to talk about when you go home for the holidays? Politics. And religion, right? We talk about religion, right? That's our bread and butter. And so we put on, hundreds of programs every year in the areas of meaning making, morality, religion, spirituality. And we are kind of the home of meaning making, of values. We talk about all the things that maybe you wouldn't even talk about with your therapist, or you may not learn in your classes unless you're in the religion department. And really, we're a place where you can just be yourself. So what I would say, the other things I would say is, if you come to campus with a religion, with a family tradition, or just something you're curious about, that we're the place to explore that. We have, I think this year, about 70 student groups. Almost every form of Christianity is represented in our student groups. We're developing a Buddhist student group. We have the Muslim Student Union that has, 50 or 60 members. So this is a place to both learn about who you are in different ways than the other people on the panel will talk about, to build community, and to connect with your meaning and your meaning making and your values. I think often students come here thinking that they know what they're supposed to do, or their parents told them what they're supposed to do when they get here. And our job is to really help you connect with what's meaningful and important to you.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And our three partners here talking about how maybe you're not a clinician necessarily, but wellness is so much more than just an appointment or accessing a resource of care. It it contains multitudes. So thank you for sharing that. And Chelsea, I'm excited to hear from you next.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so I'm here representing the Korshak Center for Learning and Creativity. So something that I would tell a student if I only had a minute or two is that navigating higher education can be very difficult. And while doing so, it's very intimidating as well, especially coming to USC, at a campus this large. So at the Learning Center, what we do is we enhance your academic and creative potential to ensure that you're able to thrive with your own I'm sorry? Yeah, individuality. So like whatever your like strengths are, to thrive with your own strengths. We have academic coaches that will sit with you for about 30 minutes and help you get a routine going, understand how to schedule yourself throughout the day, create calendars. So everything is curated to you, and then this can translate into well-being, because once you understand the achievement that you can achievement you have within an academic setting, this also translates to having better connections outside of school, which in its entirety will allow you to just be at ease in an academic setting like this. And so at Korshak, we also don't just focus on the GPA, we focus again on the well-being and what allows you to be your own person.
Thank you so much. I'm sure academic stress is a huge component that everyone here hears about. So it's great to have that resource. Thank you.
I guess I go last.
Yes, last but not least.
Perfect. If I only have a minute or two with a student, I will always start off with asking them a question, which I guess I'll also ask all of you guys here. Is anyone here familiar with occupational therapy and our role in serving your mental health? Can you raise your hand? Can I see? Okay, quite a few. I'm impressed. I usually like to start off with a little bit of education and background on what occupational therapy is, just because I do think we are a relatively new field and realm of support when it comes to mental health in comparison to traditional psychotherapy. So the word occupation in occupational therapy is talking about how we're occupying our time, right? So I think a big misunderstanding that some people have is talking about our job, work performance, but we go way beyond that. I think OT is a very holistic healthcare profession where we really help people do what they need and want to do on a daily basis, despite any challenges and limitations that might be present for you. So a little bit of background, I'm a clinical faculty here at the USC OT faculty practice that's housed under the Division of Chan of Occupational Science and Occupational Therapy. And in our faculty practice, we provide one-on-one individual OT sessions through the intervention framework called lifestyle redesign. So really looking at how mental health has an impact on your overall lifestyle. And as a student, I'm sure that includes a number of different areas that all of these experts have touched base on so far, things when it comes to stress management, time management, your academic performance, right? And we're also here to make sure that you are sleeping well, moving your body, having consistent eating routines, because all of those behaviors really contribute to our overall mental health. Right, so I think lifestyle redesign is a really beautiful and holistic intervention that helps not only when it comes to the education portion, but also in bridging the gap from knowing to doing and really coming up with an individualistic game plan for really what fits well for you, so you can translate any numbers of knowledge and education that you can get from these really wonderful support systems and really translate that into your day-to-day and really seeing what that looks like. So that's a little bit about what we do here.
That is fantastic. I am so impressed. Can we give everyone a round of applause? Yes.
I forgot one thing.
Oh, please.
Can I have 2 more minutes?
And
the reason
the
I'm asking for
student
2
got
more
off on the
minutes-
wrong floor, so they're coming back in.
They're coming back
Okay.
in. Well, actually, I'm a different person now. I'm now Mindful USC. I forgot to mention that. So I used to be the co-director of Mindful USC, and now I'm not the co-director of Mindful USC, but I still teach for them. And so I just want to give a pitch for that. So we have an organization on campus, one of the largest in the country on any university campus, where we teach what we call internal facing classes. So classes for students, for faculty, for staff. They're not classes for the community. They're just for us here. We have, 25 to 30 classes every semester on stress reduction, mindful self-compassion, meditating under the trees. We have I don't know, 3 or 4 beach sits. They go to the beach every semester. I teach a class on mindfulness, a spiritual path. And so we have a resource here that very few schools have, that they're free. You don't have to worry about credits or grades. You just come. They're usually about anywhere from 5 to 8 class series, but they vary widely. We also have sound baths. Anyway, a whole bunch of stuff. And so come, and mindfulness, we know it's one of the most scientifically studied interventions around stress and well-being. So, and classes are offered both online and in person here. So, thank you.
Thank you. I'm so glad that you came back into the elevator because it really is an amazing resource. I've taken the mindfulness in writing and really, really enjoyed it. It was really fantastic. So you never know what's going to be on there. You should check out the website if you haven't. So at this point, I'm excited to transition to the Q&A period. So I'm going to introduce McKenna again. So start thinking of any questions that you might have, but we're going to do a quick swap and then we'll go from there.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Rachel. I'm so happy to be up here speaking with you all. So I already feel like I've learned so much more than I knew coming in, honestly. So many great resources and tools that we have access to as students. So yeah, at this time, I would love to open it up to the audience. If you guys have any questions that have come up while you've been hearing our wonderful panelists speak, please feel free to raise your hand so we can call on you. Yeah, give you a second or two to think of anything. If you don't, we have some predetermined questions from students that we've gotten submitted. Anybody? No? Yes, you in the back.
So I have the Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences minor, and I was trying to take classes this semester, but a lot of the classes I want to do just aren't offered. Is it going to be like a semester by semester thing? Because I remember when I'd applied, it said that all the classes are there every semester, but the spring doesn't have, like, I think 5 or 4 of the classes.
So it's actually not all classes are offered each semester. There's 3 to 4. There's a handout in the back. But in fall, there's Science of Resilience, Community Impact of Historical Trauma, and then the Adverse Childhood Experiences. In spring, Science of Resilience, Identity Development of the Contemporary Male, Mental Health and Climate Change, and Science of Altruism. And then in the summer, Team-Based Care and Dynamics of Power and Gender Care. So it's on the website, and then there's a handout in the back. You're welcome.
Yeah, great question there. Scheduling can be really stressful as a student. It's coming up soon, so definitely a really good one to ask right now. Does anybody else? Did anybody else? Yes.
I guess this one's for Heather. I kind of wanted to know more about how you, I guess, work with OSAS for students, because I know that's a really big concern on campus. It's getting OSAS and the long wait time for that.
Yeah, we have a close working relationship with OSAS, and basically, students come to us with various levels of relationship with OSAS, right? So some folks are already sort of registered with them, and it's just a matter of paperwork. Some folks need to get their initial appointments and whatnot. We can help with paperwork, that's jazzy. And we rely on, also we collaborate a lot with Jay's team with the case managers over at PBHS as well. And so we really help to hold students amongst other providers, on campus as well. But yeah, we have found them to be really accommodating and really useful. And yeah, it's a really, really cool team. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Did anybody else have anything that they were curious about? Really great questions so far. All right. If nothing else, we do have some students that submitted some questions, and I can give those to you guys right now. Dr. Leeks, a student was wondering, what do you think is the biggest misconception students have about seeking mental health help or using counseling and mental health resources here on campus?
So there's many. I think some of the more common ones that come up are that there's a session limit. And so we operate from a short-term therapy model. And so we try to do a lot of work on the front end to try to make sure the student is kind of in the right lane, because we try to decrease the likelihood of kind of having to jump from therapist to therapist versus just kind of having someone. But we technically don't have a session limit. Most of the students average between 5 to 6 sessions, but some students come once, some students might come 10 times. But back in the day we had one, but it feels like that number is still floating around. And so technically there's no session limit, although we try to make sure that students end up in the right place initially, because we do short term versus J-Shop and other community partners might do intermediate to longer term. Some others are that there's additional cost associated, and we're covered by the student health fee, and so there's no additional cost for mental health care. Your student health fee covers a lot of resources and services for you, and counseling is one of them. And there's a lot of schools that charge additional fees for that, but not at USC. And then one other that comes up a lot is just the idea of confidentiality and privacy. And so we do not share any of your health information with anyone at the university. And there's cases of emergency where, there's certain measures we have to take in terms of if the student has to go to the hospital and things like that, but we don't share with professors or other campus partners without your written permission. And then we have a lot of embedded counselors throughout at various schools and student culture and community, and sometimes students are like, well, if I go to the embedded counselor at Marshall, does that mean that my Marshall professors will know that I'm in treatment? And it's totally separate, totally there's no sharing of information. We take that very seriously because we want you to feel very safe and confident as you're seeking services. So those are some of the main misconceptions or misinformation that might be floating around.
Thank you so much for clearing those things up. Yeah, I've definitely heard friends of mine or other people be a little confused about maybe the session limit and things like that, so I'm definitely glad that you could clear that up. We also offer resources that you can grab at the back, I think, that clear some of those things up. So if you want to grab them, and they're also at the farmers market every Wednesday, come see us. So yeah, did anything come up for anybody? Any curiosity in the audience here? No? All right. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the services offered there and how they kind of intersect with CMH.
Yeah, I think Dr. Leaks is going to take that one.
Yes. So our KRSC office is connected to counseling and mental health services, and I meet with the director there weekly, and Dr. Slacker is part of our leadership team at the Counseling and Mental Health Service. And it's a place for students who have experienced any type of gender or power-based harm. I always tell the students I wish that there was not a need for CareSC, but unfortunately it's a reality of our society and the world that we live in that there is gender-based harm, gender and power-based harm, and university campuses are not immune from that, but we do have a pretty tremendous resource to provide support for students, whether they're dealing with sexual assault, rape, domestic violence, any type of abuse. We have a really dedicated team that will provide support at our students at a very vulnerable and sensitive time for them. And so there's three main arms of CareSC. One, we have confidential advocates. That's typically the first person you might have any contact with. They are 24/7, and their main job is to meet the students where they are, provide any type of support for them, and kind of walk them through the process, whether that's just taking care of basic needs, making sure the student has a safe place to sleep, and whether they need food or security measures, They also help with reporting if that's necessary, so they'll walk you through the law enforcement reporting process. They can go to court with you. They can help with restraining orders. So there's just a lot of resources and guidance that those advocates provide. They are some of the sweetest people on the planet. They have a deep, deep heart and care for the students, and they've dedicated their lives to supporting people at a really tough time. We also have our clinicians, and so a lot of times students are dealing with the trauma associated with various events, or so it might be PTSD, it might be anxiety, depression, it might be relationship concerns. I don't trust people as much anymore, or I don't trust the world. These might be impacting your academic or just general functioning. So we have a dedicated team of specialists who have specialized trauma training to provide support for those students. And then we have an education team that really is their job is to educate the community, but also try to shift culture and try to make sure we have a healthy culture related to these, and also shift behaviors. And so as many of you know, there's mandatory courses that students take around consent, healthy relationships, upstanding behaviors. So thousands of students are taking those courses, and the data that we've received is that they've been quite effective in raising the level of education around these topics for students, increasing more upstanding behaviors and how we treat and interact with each other. So Kerosene, those are kind of the three big arms, and there's a third floor of Ingeman as well. You can check in at the counseling and mental health desk, but they also have their own lobby, and sometimes students are more comfortable going to that space. It's a really peaceful, beautiful, calming, grounding space that students can access. So again, we have one of the best resourced KRC offices in the country because of the need. And then we also just launched more recently a mobile SART resource. And so in the past, students would have to go out to various places if they had a situation happen where they needed a medical exam. But now we have a team that actually will come here and provide support for the students, which the students have been asking for quite a while. And so we were very pleased and blessed that we were able to deliver that for our student body. So again, I wish that we would never have to think about these types of things, but it's the reality. But USC has done a really great job of trying to provide a lot of support for the students.
That was great. Thank you so much for sharing all that information. As far as I'm aware, Heather, you also have worked with sort of trauma-informed therapy and all of that. And we had a student question kind of surrounding that and your work. Kind of what would be the difference between an intensive therapy and your maybe once a week type of thing?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And, the level of care that NAC provides, not many folks know about it. And it's really sometimes it's not until somebody's sort of in crisis that they're learning about these services. So I appreciate the question and just wanting to understand that. So, there are several levels of care when you think about mental health support. So that 50-minute session once a week, and then intensive outpatient program like what we offer. There's day treatment, which is sort of like a full-time job where it's like a 40-hour-a-week kind of treatment. Then there's a residential treatment program where there's around-the-clock support, and then, of course, an inpatient unit where safety is the biggest concern. And so for us, we're able to treat students who are really having a hard time doing the things that they are intending to do. So whether it's anxiety, depression, trauma, and whether it's trauma that has been sort of recently experienced either, on campus, God forbid, or recent, or sometimes childhood stuff creeps in, when somebody's away at school and they're finding that trauma history to be really impactful in their day-to-day life. We're able to treat all of those students. So our students come to us with a desire to feel better, to live a healthier life, to be able to function better, I would love OT for all of our clients, honestly. Behavioral activation and, all of those things that come along with that full package of a student, we really do take a holistic look. And so our services are designed not only for emotional resilience, but also executive function and interpersonal relationships. When I designed the clinical program at NAC, I was acutely aware that we're both dealing with folks that have very specific developmental needs, right? The transition from being at home to away and taking on academic life and then eventually their profession, but also the COVID of it all. And so really looking at social anxiety and isolation and substance misuse and disordered eating and all of those maladaptive behaviors that have come along with what you all bring to the clinical picture when we as providers are treating.
Great. Thank you so much for clearing all of that up. I love that you mentioned how occupational science can kind of fit into helping with that transition and everything. And I would love to talk to you a little bit about that, Dr. Lau. So we did have a question about how can occupational therapy principles help students build healthier daily routines and really help with that transition into college?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned earlier, a lot of what we do in our clinic is revolving around our lifestyle, right? How to create healthier habits and routines that not only sounds good on paper, but also realistic and feasible for us to implement on a day-to-day basis, right? So I think a lot of our clients also have kind of concurring services with either CMH, PBHS, or NAC, right? And they speak very highly of the providers there, so thank you all so much for your service. But I think our role here is really making sure we're kind of completing the picture here of not only learning about these strategies and tools and resources, but really seeing how can we really set them up in a way that's realistic for us, right? Because I think everyone has different priorities, goals that are important to them, whether that be making sure we are sustaining a healthy exercise routine, right? Getting to sleep on time, prioritizing time to spend with our friends, engaging in our hobbies outside of school, right? I think as students, kind of like what Heather was mentioning, the transition from living at home, being in high school, and now not only taking on the responsibilities of your academic demands, but also learning how to take care of ourselves for the first time ever. A lot of these skills and strategies are not really taught anywhere else, right? So I think OT really comes in to bridge that gap and really see, okay, what is a plan that works well for you? And by working with an OT one-on-one over a period of time, you really get to create those personalized goals and do some problem solving, right? Where the OT can really pitch in kind of from a skilled perspective and how to make sure you are really achieving that sense of lifestyle balance so that in kind of the 12 hours that we're awake, right? Hopefully we're not only stressing about school, right, but also being able to implement and prioritize these routines that are really important when it comes to supporting not only our physical health, but mental health as well.
Yeah, I agree. It can be really hard as a busy student to prioritize things like that. And so I think that's a great transition over to Dr. Miller. I think if, drawing on your experience with Mindful USC, as busy students a lot of the time students don't have time to just stop and breathe, and I think students are curious about how they can integrate mindfulness into their daily routines along with those like occupational therapy principles and everything.
Yeah. I mean, you said something really important, which is students think they don't have a second to breathe. And I don't think it's true. I think you think it's true. I think you feel like it's true, right? But, so I think there are, a variety of things that you can do. Let me just give you one of the more unusual examples, which is, anybody heard of Pomodoro?
We use it all the time.
Yeah. So I often teach a kind of a mindful version of Pomodoro. Pomodoro is just a study method or work habits method where you work for 25 minutes, you take a 5-minute break, you do that for 2 hours, and you take a longer break, and you can just keep doing that. It prevents burnout. But what we add to that is, what if you did something like HALT, which is a mindfulness exercise? Are you hungry? Are you angry? Are you lonely? Are you tired? Or anything else? Because we know, I teach this a lot at the medical school, where they sit down, they're like, I have to study for 6 hours straight. And just saying that to yourself ensures failure, right? Because you just can't conceive of doing it. But if you can mindfully if you can cut up the amount of time into chunks that are manageable, right? And I know some of the engineering students, it takes 25 minutes to read an equation. So maybe it's 40 minutes or 50 minutes and then a break. We also talk a lot about when you have to actually walk from place to place on campus. The campus is actually really pretty. And if you actually just start to notice what's around you, the trees, right? The beautiful trees, the beautiful people, also keeping yourself alive because of the skateboarders, and right? You have to actually start to notice. But if you don't walk through campus telling the story about what's going to happen next or what happened earlier today, right? One of the keys about mindfulness is entering this moment, right? In this moment, you may not actually have a problem, right? In this moment, you might just be walking through campus. So it really is just about saying, oh, can I take in what's around me right now and not tell that story over and over and over again that is activating me? You don't actually have to tell the story, right? You can just notice. Did I answer your question? Was that?
Yeah, thank you so much. That was really insightful.
Yeah.
So many.
So what I just want to add is that we have, two things I want to say. One is we just have, I teach a class called Working with Stress and Distress. We have a kind of a program that's been researched quite heavily called, Unraveling Anxiety. So, and these are all kind of really practical skills that you can use in the moment, right? Even during classes, even when you're having some trouble, you can use them right then. And then the other thing I'm just going to offer is in that room, nobody on the video can see it, but in our student lounge, we have a new wall called the failure wall. And this has been done at a few other universities. I think we unconsciously just decide that things that we wanted and don't get is a failure, right? But usually it's just a step in your development. And so we just invite everybody to post a failure, a date that was not agreed to, or a school that didn't say yes, or a bad grade. And people, you can de-identify it, or you can leave your name on it. We don't really, whatever you feel comfortable with. And we post it, and you actually see we have 5 or 6 things there up right now, just things that people are willing to share. And that is a form of mindfulness, to know where you are in life, right? That you don't know where you're going to go, you don't know how you're going to get there. And failures aren't failures, they're just steps. So thank you so much.
I'm going to cry, guys. Wait, that was actually so hit me right in the heart. Wow. So before we transition into our kind of final question for everybody, whoever feels compelled to answer, maybe didn't get a chance to answer a question, I would love to make sure there's no lingering questions out in the audience. Anybody? Yeah.
So kind of going about OT, if someone wants to use your resources or have kind of connection with you guys, is that included in the student health fee, and how can someone go about it?
Yeah, great question. So we do offer a free OT consultation service that's available to all students at no cost. And how that model works is you can go on your MySHR portal and book a free consultation where you get to talk to one of the OTs, including myself, for 20 minutes or so, where we kind of break it down a little bit more about what your needs are, right? And what are some of the things that you're hoping to address in occupational therapy. And us as a clinician can give you an overview of what kinds of support we can provide for you, just so you can get an overview of what that looks like before you commit to the full kind of service package that we do offer. Unfortunately, with our OT sessions, they do come at a cost with the Aetna student health insurance. We do have a copay of $15 per session. But if you do have a private insurance, right, our office does a complimentary verification check for you. So as long as you can provide us insurance information, we're able to run the numbers and see if whether or not that is a feasible service for you. But of course, we're always trying to advocate for increased accessibility to care. So if finances is a barrier for you to be able to access our care, we have different financial hardships programs that are available, financial aid programs that are available. We really want to make sure that you guys are able to access our care. So that's kind of the general approach when it comes to accessing our service. I think scheduling that free consultation can give you a better sense of idea of whether or not OT will be a good fit. So it's just going to get your foot in the door. Or if you are always more curious about more information, I did bring brochures. I ran back to the Student Health Center earlier to grab them. So they give you an outline of we have our front desk phone number and our email address. So there's just a number of different ways that you can reach out to us. And I'm also more than happy to stay after and chat if there's more specific questions that you have there too.
Thank you so much. I think that's a great example of a service that might be unfamiliar to a lot of people, and I'm glad that you can kind of make that known to everybody. And I think that's a great transition over to another service that people might be a little unfamiliar with, which is the psychiatry things that we offer. So Dr. Batra, I would love to ask you a question that we have here from a student. How do students most commonly connect with psychiatric resources here at USC?
So most common and pathway is to go see one of Dr. Leake's teams first. So that's accessible to you via student health feed. They'll do the assessment, and then they'll also give you guidelines, right? Is this something that would require 3 months, 6 months of therapy, or like he was saying, this is something we can work with you and you wouldn't need an extra referral. Or in some cases, you've dealt with an anxiety problem already before, then they're not going to spend a lot of time and then directly refer to us. So CMH is the first stop, and then you can come to PBHS, which is Psychiatry and Behavioral Health Services, not Sciences. It's very similar sounding names. And yeah, so what you can expect is very similar to the OT process. Is we work with your insurance, Aetna-ship. We work very closely with, many of our students have that. Typically a $10 copay. The rest is covered by insurance, and you'll meet with a therapist or a psychiatrist depending on what the problem you're looking for help with, and they'll individualize a plan with you. And many times you see both a psychiatrist and a therapist. And then if you need more, including IOP and things like that, we'll help you with connecting with those services as well, including OT. Big fan of OT, by the way, also.
Thank you.
We all love OT.
Can I give a quick testament of one of my patients for
Absolutely.
OT, like how powerful that can be, and people so seldom know about this.
Please.
So this is a patient of mine who's very successful, about my age, also a physician, who's dealt with serious trauma in his childhood, living with the sequelae of that, also has pretty significant ADHD. Clearly, despite that, very successful, doing things, sort of devoted his life to making others' lives better, right, with what he's gone through. But he's experiencing high blood pressure and some heart problems, so some of the ADHD medications are a risk for him. And he went to OT, and so instead of being on 2 moderate dose medications, within, I would say, a month or 6 weeks, he is actually off one of them, which was the highest risk for medication, while doing even better, right? So he's still on one medication, but it's a lower risk medication, but his actual work output, his ability to get tasks done that he was really struggling with, is better than when he was taking 2 medications. That's how significant it can be, and so that's I feel like the best part of USC's team is the interconnectedness and the ability to bring in other experts that can only really happen at a large university, but also a university that's dedicated so much to student health and well-being.
So true. And I love that you could share that with us. Very powerful. And I think also on the topic of ADHD, the Korshak Center can also be really helpful with things like that. And so, Chelsea, I would love to ask you just this last question here. What are some of those common solutions that you would offer students to succeed in their studies?
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and share. I'm also a student myself. I'm an entry-level doctorate student for occupational therapy. Yeah, So something that I love working there because it allows me to see the other side of the coin, to understand how these resources can allow us to thrive in these academic settings. So for example, at Korchak, our academic coaches will sit one-on-one with you, but they'll focus on things like time management, which is something that we were just talking about. So it's like, it varies from like creating a calendar, whether that's like a semester calendar that breaks it down like through the 16 weeks, or whether that's a weekly calendar that breaks it down from Monday through Sunday, or it's a calendar / routine that'll break it down from 8 a.m. to like 10 p.m. So at Korchak, what we do is we specifically see how you work, to see how not only your academic potential can come out, but your creative potential as well. And that's something that I feel like is not often like highlighted, but it allows you to just understand yourself and get yourself situated. And creating a routine, like I'll be honest, it's taken me 8 weeks to create my routine, but at Korchak, we help you just navigate and understand how to prevent exhaustion, whether that's physically or mentally, and it enhances your daily activities, whether that's completing your homework, talking to your mom on the phone, or being able to sit in a 3-hour lecture or an hour and a half lecture. So at Korchak, again, our academic coaches or our other trainees who host workshops will allow you to see where you're at and understand all of that. We also have information on like sleep hygiene. So what does your sleep look like? Is that going to sleep at 4 a.m. after you've studied for 10 hours straight? And it's allowing you to, again, understand the realm of your mental health and also your academic well-being inside the classroom. So I love Korchak. I use all the resources. I love it because it's like, as a student, but also being able to facilitate that change with other students is very important. And it's something that I feel like is not highlighted enough. If you guys want to go visit us, we're in Student Union 311. We also have on-campus resources, so that looks like a sensory room. So for me, sometimes being at the library, when I hear people open their backpacks or ruffle their papers, that can be a little bit overwhelming or overstimulating. So at Korchak, we have a sensory room where it's silent, super, super silent, and that is, again, open to anybody. It's first come, first serve. We also have a little pod, so if you need to take a Zoom call and just focus on something specific, that is open to you. We also have a room with a whiteboard, so if you can get a study room, especially during midterm season, that is open to you. So again, Korchak just allows you to come together and bridge all of that. 311. Yeah, Student Union. Yeah, 311. So yeah, it's a lot of resources, not only Zoom or like through the academic coaches, but if you want to navigate it on your own as well.
It sounds like a really great and personalized resource, something not a lot of people
and I
get all the
thank
time.
you for highlighting that specifically. It is a personalized resource. It's not to get confused with tutoring, but again, it's seeing how you can facilitate yourself to thrive in your well-being and create that balance between personal and academic life.
So true. I love how you worded that. Yeah. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, audience. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so much for giving your attention to our wonderful guests. I hope you all got your questions answered. And just remember that if you think you're alone, we have all of these wonderful resources for you, and they're at your fingertips. So just, yeah, we got you. We literally have you. Just as the title reference, guys. Yeah, make sure to grab anything in the back. We have snacks, we have resources, some little goodies, some little bears if they're not all gone. Yeah, and thank you all again for coming.
No, it's okay.
I think Chelsea wanted to add something.
Oh yeah.
I just wanted to say again, so like as a student, like I wanted to thank all of you guys. I mean, I have my own insurance, but I've been using the mental health resources on campus and like Korchak and like OT. But I think it's a different like scope to it, and I don't think like I have my healthcare provider, but being able to have it in an academic setting has allowed me to just know that I not only belong, but has given me a sense of peace. So I just wanted to say thank you, because it really has helped me thrive. Like I can't explain how many times I've like been so conflicted between like dropping and not dropping, but I've been again using those mental health resources since I started, and I think I wouldn't have made it this far if it wasn't for, you know, the team. And again, everybody's interconnected, and I think that's what I wanted to highlight as a student. You are not alone, like, at all, whether it's like you need tutoring, Korchak, OT, you know, psychiatric, whatever it is, like USC, it's amazing. I can't explain it. So thank you guys.